Here's an intelligent-looking chap. This is Thomas Watson, one of the most famous chief executives of IBM. This is Thomas's moment of genius, probably delivered in a similar environment to this, with great hubris and confidence about what was going to happen in the future. But there have been others that have been on this journey before me as well, not least this chap here. This is Steve Ballmer, chief executive of some small company called Microsoft. Steve had another high point in predicting the future, I think we'll say, with this. So Greg has given me this task of imagining or looking back on what's happened in the past 25 years. And I'm always earnestly looking around the room here and trying to think there's probably people in this room potentially that weren't even born at the beginning of those 25 years. And then to think forwards to the next 25 years where, frankly, maybe one or two of us won't even be around at the end of those 25 years. So it is a broad canvas. Let's talk about this. I've slightly copped out on this, and I'm going to pick three themes to talk about with this. And I'm going to juxtapose where I think we've been with maybe where I think we'll go in the future. And let's start on home ground for me. Let's start with technology. My thesis here is that the first 25 years of this century have all been a digital revolution. We have lived that digital revolution and some. But what we're now embarking on is inevitably, and here it comes, an AI revolution. In whatever shape or form that is, it is a broad thing to think about. So let's look back at the beginnings of this digital revolution. Frankly, the digital revolution nearly didn't even happen. Back in the late 90s, some of us were beginning our careers in tech, and we were actually making a fair bit of money, but we were also trading on the hysteria that was around this thing called Y2K. For those of you of maybe a slightly younger disposition, it's what happens when you code programming with 2 digits for the year, and you know that at some point in the future, you're going to roll from a 1999 to a 2000. And what's going to happen when 99 goes to 00? Vast resources were consumed by companies. Companies were founded based on these kind of exploring these premises. And frankly, for the tech industry at the beginning of the millennium, it was actually a really good proving ground to solve and to develop not just the technological advances that were necessary in this, but also the business postures and the commercial routes to market that were associated with solving some of these really meaty problems for everybody. And then it went on. And we've had big moments in this last 25 years, big moments that have been defined by things like mobile transforming our experiences, the way that we engage with technology. And really importantly, and I would say this, you would know, but the shift to cloud, the shift of relying on big remote servers that do amazingly powerful things and deliver the internet incredibly capably to everything that we do. But we've ended up here with witless doom scrolling on apps, driven really by the pursuit of data. The world is defined by data. Whatever you put on the top of it, whatever UX, whatever experience you put on the top of it, essentially the real currency in this digital revolution is data, and probably will continue to be data, even as we shift into the world of AI as we go on. A little bit of Microsoft moments from this. This is very definitely digital revolution. This is Microsoft's remembering this. Does anyone remember what this character was called? Come on, say it all out loud. Clippy. Welcome to Clippy. Clippy. Well, Clippy has now moved on in our world. So from a Microsoft point of view, Clippy has suddenly met its big brother and grown up into the whole world of generative AI. And for those of us that live our lives now through things like Copilot, this is now marking the shift between the digital revolution and the AI revolution that follows. I I just thought I'd give you, I'm really aware that this is a talk just before dinner. You're all very excited about the awards that are going to come, and you're getting well lubricated in this. But if you want to impress people about thinking through the shifts in technology, here's a little rubric maybe to have in your heads that you can rock at your next lavish dinner party. The trends really are defined by these things here. Where is computing happening? And in the digital revolution, that was very much in the cloud. How those computers are working, and that probably was now drifting into the world of what we would describe as traditional machine learning. What was being processed was data, and with what, at the end of it, was huge amounts of silicon that sit inside these machines that are in our data centers. I thought I'd use this to bridge into what's going to happen in the next 25 years. Because in the next 25 years, cloud will still be there, but we'll still be reliant, we'll be increasingly reliant on calculations taking place everywhere in little machines very close to you. Your devices will become even more powerful, and you'll be having these really dynamic handshakes between stuff in data centers and stuff that is frankly in your kitchen sink. Machine learning is evolving all the time. AI, as we know it, even generative AI, is still machine learning. But we're now moving into an era of incredibly powerful AI, both in terms of the way that it interacts with us, through the natural language that it interacts with, but also the ability to reason over all of this stuff. And data will continue to be there, just heaps more of it in our perpetuating engagement with technology. And here's my big question for the future is, are we going to move beyond silicon to quantum? Andy, I think this is going to be your big moment at this point here. Sorry, Andy and I were catching up earlier, and he was explaining to me his deep knowledge of quantum mechanics. So I'm not going to invite Andy to explain this next, but quantum is a really exciting development that will manifest itself at some point in the next 25 years in a very, very specific way, in specifically the way that we do maths. Our current maths is very, what we would explain as deterministic. It's very arbitrary, it's ones or zeros. But with qubits replacing bits in the future, we're going to get a lot more probabilistic in the way that we solve our maths. And that all sounds amazing, and I've put an incredibly impressive set of equations up on here, which I know most of you get. You're at this level. I know you're at that level. But what it really means is that we'll be solving really, really difficult problems very, very quickly. And some of the advances that are happening at the moment are particularly interesting in the worlds of chemistry and pharmaceuticals, where these really big simulations are necessary to calculate all of the optimum structures that are going to deliver all of these powers. Couple that technology with the power of the new AI to reason over our vast data sets, and you can see where this drift is going to end up. It will be utterly transforming for businesses, for governments, for science in general as we move into the next millennium. Okay, I've probably lost you at the quantum bit on that one, but let's plow on with this one. Let's get back to the big shifts that have happened that were probably really, really vivid in our minds. The way that work has changed. Remember this? This is kind of what it looked like back in the turn of the century. Lots of beige in this mind. By the way, this image is created by AI for me. But AI got it, I think. This is really what we did. I mean, I'm also probably realizing that for some of us, this is still our offices in 2024. But this is the world that we've gone to, and it's remarkably different. It's a world where we work not just in a different space, but we work at different times. Some would say it's empowering, it's democratizing, it's enabling people to work in the way that they want to work. It's liberating. Work is now at home, but quite often also home is at work, and it gets in the way. It's okay if you've got a spacious home that's equipped with broadband and you've got no kids and you've got no demands on your life. It can be very challenging in other ways, and we're still negotiating what this space looks like. The World Economic Forum has probably got a little bit more credibility in predicting the future than people like me, but the World Economic Forum is describing the future of work in 2050 as having three, and I'm summarizing quite heavily here, three real attributes here. It will be augmented. We will be working with co-pilots in everything that we do. We won't be displaced, but we'll be augmented. We will be mobile in the sense that we will be working anywhere. We won't be constrained to the specific environments of work that we understand. And they're also incredibly optimistic about the democratization of work. These mobile, augmented environments enable people to access work more readily, advance their skills more rapidly. But it is a world that is fraught with problems, because I thought I'd jump back to this image here. I mentioned that I've used AI to create a couple of these images. Some of you may be spotting the limitations of some of this technology. Just going to zoom in on this lady's legs in this image here, or the absence of her legs. The AI has done incredibly well at this point. I'm not quite sure also what the perspective on the stool of the dog is at the background as well. And then when we move over to the drawer, we've got a lovely, beautiful drawer handle, not on a drawer on this as well. And what this is really pointing to for people like me is that AI is immensely powerful, and it will augment work, and it will transform our productivity and growth. But it still needs human beings to keep it functional, to keep it grounded, to keep it in the real world. I love this quote. This is Karim Lakhani, and he got there first, I think, with this quote. It's a quote that we would all love to have said in our own way here. But AI won't replace humans. The real risk is that humans with AI will replace humans without AI. And that sounds like an opportunity, but it's also a challenge. How we as a world, as a society, democratize the access to these great, powerful bits of technology is going to be as much of a challenge for us to think through as to how, as entrepreneurs, we take competitive advantage from these advances as we go through. And I thought, because it's before dinner, I thought we'd just put a bit of JavaScript up for everybody as well. You're all rocking it. Table 17 really leaning in on this one here. Yes, all over it. But this is what that democratization ends up looking like. This is coding with natural language. This is you pretending you know JavaScript, but actually you're just interacting in these prompts here in natural language. And it says, well, I know what you want to do. I'm just going to create some code for you. Incredibly empowering, incredibly liberating, an incredible opportunity for new companies to access great advances very readily. But we've got to make sure that we deliver that with equality everywhere. And the third one that I thought I'd do, and I've only got three, so you'll be pleased to hear that, is really focus on the essence of entrepreneurship, the thing that keeps you awake every day. It's capital. It's working capital. And it has been there, and it will continue to be there. But the thing that I want to just posit now that I've got the stage is that maybe that capital looks a little bit different as we move into the next 25 years. We have an issue with capital. It goes up and down, and it never really goes up that fast. Ellie and I were catching up earlier, and there are distinct problems in the access to capital for businesses in the UK. This was a graph that stuck with me earlier in the year. This is The Economist, and again, I'm aware that I'm putting two graphs up in a row pre-dinner, which is a bit shocking here. But the point with this graph here is that if you subscribe to the fact that we have a problem with growth in the UK, disproportionately, our problem with growth is down to our absence of capital, compared to some really good comparators in there. We need to find ways as a society, as entrepreneurs, to have a conversation probably predominantly around risk and appetite to risk to make sure that we can access the same amount of capital as some of our big competitors. It's remarkable to know that when you look at small businesses in the UK and you compare small businesses in the US, we're very good at creating sole proprietor businesses and just staying with them, keeping them very, very small, undercapitalized, but very comfortable, thank you very much. In the US, they are much more employer-based. They're much more employer-owned. They have much more diverse sources of ownership in their businesses. There are things in there that we need to understand and make sure that we access effectively. And one of the things that I would always want you to appreciate is that big companies like Microsoft, but not just Microsoft, are there to help you with that capital investment. We've all got things like our Founders Hub program, where you can access as an entrepreneur those important, in our case, cloud credits to get you going. So it doesn't necessarily need to be the traditional sources of capital that are going to help pump prime your business and get that momentum going to enable you to reach scale and make a successful business. But there is something else that we also need to acknowledge here. Capital is one thing, but our world is facing other problems. It's a terrific TED talk the other day by a guy called Joachim Rosenstock, and he was talking about the tipping point of our planet. A real point about the climate crisis. What you're seeing here is ocean temperatures plotted over time, and yes, the older temperatures are at the bottom, and we're steadily creeping up. And the 2023 temperature level in our oceans really scared the climate change community. But then what he was pointing out was that in 2024, we're pushing even harder. And the oceans are so important because they are the sink, the buffer that enable us to limit the damage of climate change in our world. And I say all of this because I know the community that I'm in. I'm in the Southwest. I'm in a region that is purposeful as well as successful. A region that has got an ambition to raise its head and to think about how it can solve both of those problems together, to turn capital into value, but also to create additional value in terms of the world that we live in. There is, in current estimates, $7 trillion worth of sustainable finance available for investors. It's a large number, but there is a significant amount of money that is increasing over time. And again, rely on the people that have got big balance sheets in this as well. Companies like Microsoft have committed to spend $1 billion on climate innovation funds to invest in companies that want to be more purposeful. I'm saying this from a Microsoft point of view, but I know that Amazon have got a similar amount. I know that Google have as well. Treat these big companies that have been successful in the first 25 years as partners for some of your investment as you solve the next 25 years. We're moving into a world, dare I say it, of donut economics. Inevitably, we will start, whether we push as far as Kate Raworth would really want us to push, but we are pushing into a world where we are seeking more balance in the way that we're thinking through our delivery of value for the capital that we consume. And so I think as we move towards this, we're going to be reconciling these two challenges as we sit at the cusp of one quarter and begin the next quarter. It is this balance between growth and balance. And I think we've got to recognize the Southwest's ability to be unique at putting those two things together, to square that circle successfully, and to deliver a great future for us and the generations that follow us. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you very much.